Well, hey there, everybody. How we doing this evening? Welcome into this very special live stream tonight. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We got a lot of activity early here in the chat. Nice to see everybody here. And, of course, we're going to switch over now. And I'm joined by my friend here tonight, Smoke Monster. And
hey, how you doing?
Great, man. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for coming on. So I think,
yeah, this is like a big deal for me. It's a red letter day in my life being on your stream.
Well, I'm glad. I was we could talk about things a little bit more kind of because you and I actually were lucky enough, I think, to have had an opportunity even briefly to meet in person a couple years back.
Yeah, that was awesome.
So I thought we could talk a minute about that, and then just like, you know, we never had like any chances to, while you're still doing things, to get together. And then it's like I was always kind of disappointed when you took a step back, of course, selfishly, because I wanted to work in some things.
Like right when you started getting big into streaming, I had been stepping away for a while. Mm-hmm.
Well, so getting things right. Yeah, cheers. So cheers to everybody out there. Thanks for coming on tonight. I will tell you, I have maybe one of the freshest beers here that I've ever had. I was blown away. So my friend, she works for this brewing company called Southern Grist in Nashville, Tennessee. And she came to visit me and my wife, and she brought a bunch of their special beers. And this one is a key lime pie sour ale.
Ooh, that sounds good.
Yeah, but it has a canned date on it, and it was canned on 5/25/23.
Oh my God! Yeah,
so that's like 6 days ago.
Brand new. Yeah, that's awesome.
So yeah, I don't think I've never had beer that fresh.
Mm-hmm.
So what are you sipping on?
I'm drinking a Pilsner Urquell. This has got to be months old. It's
a classic.
Over from Czechoslovakia, yeah. Czech Republic. It's a good. It's kind of like not the greatest beer on earth, but I like it. You know, like it's a light beer to have around.
That's a good one. That's fine. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we're just gonna kind of like hang out and talk, obviously, about CRTs. I've got these two cool 8-inch things here. There's really a lot of things we could talk about because so many just like random posts. We've been talking to each other, working on randomly the same thing somehow. You know.
Yeah, you're like the PhD level of my amateur interests. It seems like we're on the same paths sometimes.
Yeah. Well, I'm definitely still always. I still think that's a very much a thing for me, is to always try to still be learning. And I'm surprised by these machines because it doesn't really matter how much you know. I feel like you could always know more about it almost.
Yeah, they're so complex. Yeah.
Right.
And there's physics involved and God knows what else.
Right. So
gremlins, spirits, demons.
Well, that's an interesting thing you say that, because I had I've done so much stuff on the history of like studying the history of the CRT, and it was used to actually, the early forms of it were used to study and discover the electron, the physics, like the actual electron.
Oh, wow.
The first
that's where they happened across this.
Yeah, it was in a vacuum tube, and they were passing beams of electricity through the vacuum tube, and it's like in the 1850s was when the first kind of vacuum tube was born.
Mm-hmm.
And
I have some right here. Look, Decatron spinners that I those are called Decatrons. I don't know if you can even see that though. Probably can't. Oh no, it's off screen.
Oh no, I can't. I don't think so. But
I'm big into vacuum tube stuff. But I got some Decatrons, which are old counting tubes from like ancient computers, and I kind of turned them into like second counters for my Nixie tube clock.
Yeah.
Pendulums.
Yeah, I've seen that. That's a cool look. So yeah, I mean, what do you feel like starting off with? I mean, we could kind of go through like a little bit of a history tour for people, I guess. We kind of mentioned that, if that's all right.
Yeah.
I'll tell it kind of from my perspective, but goodness, it was like right before, of course, 2019. It was like the end of 2019 right when we all went
pre-COVID.
It was right before COVID. It was like, I want to say October-ish. And it was this first kind of behind the scenes meet together of people that were in kind of retro gaming scene. Most of it was organized by Bob from Retro RGB. And I was just like, first off, I was like so surprised that I even got invited, because I didn't have much of a following at that time.
Well, it was like elites mostly, and
right? Yeah,
plus a few random people like me were there.
Well, no, that's what I was saying. So I was there the one day hanging out, and it started to get to be late, and I was like, man, I never had a chance to go over and talk to you. And I looked over, and you were having a conversation with Art, and I was like, I'm just going over and butting in and saying, hey, finally, before this whole thing ends, because I was like, well, I didn't have a chance. Because back then,
yeah, I'm the kind of guy you have to track down and talk to. I'm a little introverted in groups.
Yeah, well,
but yeah, we got to chat. I bumped into you a few times. We talked about, at that time, you were doing like CRT repair for hire mostly, and it was like you had done some YouTube videos, I think, but you were like a YouTuber for YouTubers back then.
Yeah. The original like
an audience.
The original like tutorial. I can remember making my first videos, and it was just like a bad cell phone and just me yelling at it. And then tried to edit it.
I took all my early ones down there, too bad. It was I had $20 Logitech like 8 years ago kind of videos.
Yeah. I had some other friends that were like, why don't you take some of those early videos down that have bigger YouTube channels? They're like, you should clean up your channel a little bit. And I'm like, you're probably right, but I don't know. I kind of like to go back and just laugh at myself sometimes.
Oh yeah,
but
it's priceless.
Yeah, so we got into talking there. I remember that time, and this is again late 2019. You were like the first person that most anybody knew that was really involved in following and, using the Mister early on. And
yeah, I kind of caught Mister early.
Yeah, like way
compared
early
to the rest of the world. It took like a year after I had sort of found it that it sort of started passing around. I mean, it was clearly a big deal, regardless of anything I did. But I was one of the early people making videos on it. I've got my Mister running right now here, actually.
Oh, look at that.
Super attract mode with the 8-inch PVMs that we need to talk about.
So do you have 3 of them? Things.
I have 3.
Okay.
$40 each. Got them a long, long time ago. And this one on the bottom is the one that I just recapped the power supply. And now I'm a little horrified. I kind of want to do the other 2 soon.
Yeah.
You said you had the same thing happen to you. It was like, this one ran perfectly. This was my main PVM on the desk here. Then I put it in rotated mode, and within a few days, it was acting weird. And then after a week or 2, it wasn't even turning on.
Wow.
Because the power supply caps, it's like, I don't know. It like jolted them out of their happiness. And they were 3 of those were really blown.
I was gonna say, were they actually like they I think I saw pictures.
They looked fine superficially. It wasn't until you take them off and it's like they had drained out through the bottom.
Oh, okay.
So you probably couldn't tell I don't think I could tell by looking at them. I mean, it looked pristine actually, like clean and fine.
Yeah.
Once you take them off, that you see that little their guts spilled.
That's a good one to say, guts spilled. Yeah. I don't know. I'm sure some of you guys, I know that like James Boone in the chat, he was, of course, at the stream I did yesterday during the middle of the day, where the one that I actually have in rotation tate mode is the one that it didn't start at all for me. And somebody came and donated, I think, like 6 totes of just parts from these small monitors.
Oh, cool.
And so I have like so many parts. So I found, a good power supply, which is the same block here. Mm-hmm. And then I was on stream. I was like, well, let's swap the power supply out just to see if it's going to be that easy, right? If it's just the power supply or if it's something else. So I swapped it out, and of course it fired right up. And I took the old power supply apart because I was like, well, we need to see why. It's obviously that old power supply that's the problem. And I opened it up, and it is the exact same 3 capacitors that you had changed. And mine were, the wild thing about mine was that, like, one of them was obviously failed. Like, you could see it's exploded out the bottom and run onto the board. And it read bad. I have an ESR meter. You can read caps in circuit.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and it read bad. But the other 2 caps actually read still good. But I pulled all 3 of them, and they had all actually leaked. But even out of circuit, the 2 were still reading good.
They're nice caps. I mean,
yeah,
they can work even after they're dead. They're like zombies.
Self-healing.
It's surprising. I guess they have like thousands of hours on them, I guess is the difference. But, you know, in a normal, like if we had these at home, you'd think they would last until Armageddon because generally the caps in there it's like Japanese. Most of them are 105C. Good stuff. I can't remember. I think the power supply they weren't like Nishikans or anything, were they? They were like some.
They were
Samsung or
there
something.
there was a Rubicon was one of them. I remember on mine. Okay. Actually, I probably still got the nasty caps here, right here. Because like right after, so I did that, and let's see, this was definitely one of them. Yeah, this one's just. Oh, it's Elna, which...
Oh, Elna. It should be good.
Yeah. Rubicon, Elna.
Yeah, so they put
and then this one, yeah, this is an Elna also. 105
they just have like 50 million hours on them, and it's so compact in there.
Yeah, and they smell...
The heat just probably builds up.
Mine smelled so bad when I removed it with the heat. Oh, my goodness. And cleaned it. So... Like you said, I did that one kit on that, which is it's pretty simple, and then it fires back up. But then I went ahead and did a couple of other repairs, which I had sent you a list of capacitors.
I did those too.
You did those too? Okay, good. Yeah.
Yeah, I did those, and then I did like every big cap that I didn't want to do the whole thing because I was being lazy.
Yeah,
but I did like all the higher voltage caps. I the ones that were easy to get to, I did all of those. So I might have recapped like 20 of them or so.
Okay.
And then I did those value upgrades, and the picture on it is noticeably better. It's just brighter. So it was probably just dim before or something. But I can see it now, like compared to the other one, it's that's above it. It's just like they're both the exact same settings there, but that one's
that's awesome.
Like, pops a little bit, you know.
Yeah. That yeah, I was gonna say that kit, and then there's just one other thing that you can do on the color board, because sometimes the color will go out in composite and NTSC, and so there's.
See, I'd never even know if that happened
because you don't use it in anything but RGB. I'm sure, right?
For these, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I could plug in other things, but these are just like I use these actually like monitors, you know, like as they were designed, like just for seeing what's on Mister basically, and anything else that I had the Jag hooked up here for a while and a 3DO. They're just kind of perfect for that. I guess I did have the 3DO running S video.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I've got an RGB modded 3DO, but. Ooh. I don't know. I was laughing. I was thinking maybe I'd put that on one of these, but then I was thinking that would be so small FMV, and I couldn't really do good thing with the audio on it. So, but yeah. So on the color board, which is the opposite side of that deflection board, there's a couple of spots on there that where Sony just used some less inferior potentiometers, 2 of them, and they sent out a service bulletin saying to change them, and then put some small capacitors in there behind them. Okay. So it's an easy fix if you ever have a problem. Mm-hmm. If you don't
get a handful of those.
Yeah, it's just I just do it to make sure that I get them all working kind of as close as possible. But
yeah, that's an easy one, so you might as well.
Yeah,
if you're in there already.
But that, and then of course the awesome stand, right? That you first showed. You were the first to show off. Which on the one on the right, I've got using that cool stand. It does extend higher, but I like that stand.
I guess you can't see it on the screen. I've got one on those now. Mm-hmm. I had a revelation though, inspired by like stacking TVs on TVs in like the 80s and 90s, as we did have a broken TV with a good TV on top. I realized that these are perfect cubes. That's why they're called cubes, I guess. It never really occurred to me. But you can use one 8-inch PVM as a stand for another 8-inch PVM. How perfect is that? And you can, even if you rotate it, it's still square.
Oh, yeah.
So that cleaned up a little bit of desk space for me so that I could, because I'm working on a Windows 98 computer and I got this 21-inch monitor over to the side here. But there was no way it was going to fit without, I mean, I spent like a whole day, just broke down my whole desk. And I figured out a way to squeeze it in here.
So let's take a second. What's the new CRT that you got? The computer monitor.
Okay, so I did a video on this one that I got a few years ago.
Right.
Brand new.
Yeah, I remember that.
$70, something like that. Really cheap. And it's nothing fancy, but it just looks so good because it's brand new. Just for Dreamcast, especially, where it's like the perfect resolution for it, you know? And I had taken a trip to see Bob in New York, and I went to the iFix Retro Arcade, where Jose, sorry, I always say it the Brazilian way, had a Diamondtron with the Naomi 2 on it. And it just looked like mind-blowingly good. And so I've always wanted to have a VGA Dreamcast setup.
Yeah.
So that's what that one became. It's like a 17-inch, so not huge. But it looks ungodly good to me. I've never seen a BVM, though, mind you. So I don't really know.
You haven't?
No, not in person. I have a BVM, but it was 240p. And
I remember. The one that smoked.
Caught on fire. Last time I plugged it in, it literally caught on fire. So. I haven't got to that yet. I don't have space for it anyways, so there's no point. But one day I'll fix it, I'm sure of it. Or you'll help me fix it.
Yeah, that's truth. Yeah, so the
and then the other day, a few weeks ago, I got this insanely nice 21-inch Samsung SyncMaster 1100p Plus.
Okay.
With BNC inputs for VGA, which I do use. And that kind of gives you a second input on it. For nothing. I mean, nothing. Just the guy just basically gave it to me and thanked me for taking it.
Now,
so that
was that guy originally? Sorry, go ahead. That would spawn the Windows.
I didn't want to talk to him too long because he asked me like, he's like, "So what do you plan to do with it?" And I'm like, "Oh God, you don't want to know. Let's not get into that. Yeah. I just want to get out of here."
Right. You want to make sure you get out of there. Yeah. So I know that feeling.
Yeah. Like you have no idea, man, what I'm going to do with this. But that's what spawned my whole Windows 98 thing that's going on.
Oh, very cool. Very fun.
That's what this is for. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I got to tell you, I went and it was kind of near when, after we went and met in 2019, I went and met with Try and Matt Lacey, who is the owner of Insurrection Industries. They're both in North Carolina. Oh, mm-hmm. So we all got together one night and we're hanging out, and that was like the last time before everything went crazy. Literally, that was like December, I remember, because right before we left, we were talking about this COVID thing happening somewhere. We didn't know. But anyway, I went over and Tri showed me his setup, and he had this amazing NEC computer CRT, you know, like super high end. I can't remember the exact model, but one of the really good ones. And that's all he had was a Dreamcast on it. And I watched that and I was like, oh my goodness. And ever since then, that's what I kind of did. I was looking for one just specifically almost for that for the longest time.
Yeah. It's like everybody who loves Dreamcast really we should go out and grab one because they're actually easy to find. People think they're hard, you know. Oh man, PC monitors, if you go on OfferUp, you know, if people know it, they're selling like on eBay, they're expensive. But you go on OfferUp, I did like this wasn't my only choice. This nice one, like it was like the one of 10 and within like 30 miles of here that would have been perfectly good. You know, there were some other really nice ones too. This one was just like perfect condition, so I knew it wasn't probably used very much. And the guy took my low ball on what was already a low price.
Yeah. I think I wound up with a Sony, but I found it and I had to drive like 3 hours to get it because it was the 4x3 monitor. That's the version of the FW900, only in 4x3.
Oh, nice.
And I was like, I know if I wouldn't see it again. It was again like one of those things. The guy wanted, I think, $100, and I didn't even argue with him because you could check the one that I got. You could check the hours.
Yeah, you don't want to argue. You want to just be like,
can I have it and go?
Like, I'll take it. I'll be there today.
That's exactly
stop everything.
Yeah.
That's how like all my PVMs were. They were all at Big Drive. Some of them, like my 2030, I was in Madison, Wisconsin. I drove to Chicago to get that. A guy had it listed on eBay. Yeah, like they were all like, you got to jump in your car and go and get it because it's a deal.
Yeah, those are always the better ones.
Somebody else is like calls the guy and tells him they'll give him like 500 for it or something.
Yeah, that's very true. So you got that the Samsung now. And you're running so have you put together like a actual Windows machine?
Yeah, what I'm doing
like an
right
original?
Now. So right now I'm building like a Windows 98 supercomputer, like the computer of your dreams that didn't really exist in 98. That's what I'm building, you know, so it's got like a Voodoo 4 DVI that was a gift from a friend, Pentium 3 slot 1, 850 megahertz is what I'm going with because that one needs to have a 100 megahertz front side bus, so that's a good one for it. Killer Intel motherboards. Like I finally understand why people are like Intel fans because I've seen a lot of computer motherboards in my time, but like they put huge Nishikon 105C rated caps all over the board. None of that green Samsung crap leaking everywhere. Really, really nice. So actually I can give a hint to the people who showed up here because I've been keeping this under the cover because I know that the second that I mention this publicly, they'll all disappear. But Dell Dimension XPS from the 90s, if you look at them and they have an ISA slot, it means, and they have a Pentium 3, it means they have the Intel 440BX chipset.
Okay.
And it's an actual Intel motherboard. It's like a turnkey kick-ass high-end from the year 2000, you know, if you get a later one, a Pentium 3 slot 1 machine. Slot 1 was very expensive back then. So that's my advice to people. And a cool thing is I got a T700R, which means it's a 700 megahertz slot 3 is what was in it. But all of them are configured the same. So if you got a T450, it's the exact same high-end computer just with a 450 megahertz Pentium slot 1. So if you got that, I mean, I paid $50 for mine, and then it was like $30 shipping. And you couldn't get a case for that much nowadays.
Right, no.
And that motherboard is probably $100, $200. And then you've got a slot 1 to start out with, and you can put any slot. So you can get a $50 slot, badass slot 1, and just pop it on there to the like T450, and then you've got a hot rod.
Right.
So they're really cool. And the ISA slot is what signifies to you that it's the 440BX.
Okay.
It doesn't have that because there were more kick-ass ones later, but they wouldn't be really great for Windows 98. They had different chipsets on them.
Okay.
But anyways, so yeah, I'm building a kick-ass Windows 98 computer of my dreams because that's like my era for games, for computers. And then I also have a libretto that Tim, GC8 Tech, sent me a few years ago for DOS. So I have everything covered, and that saved me from having to make a machine that's both DOS and Windows 98, which was my original plan. It's very complex to get everything perfect if you go that route. So I've got a libretto which just plugs straight into the SyncMaster, and I was playing SimCity, and once I got it home in like 30 seconds. So like it's just like turnkey.
Well, that's so crazy because most of the time, if you think of Dell, kind of after that, they started.
You think of low end.
Well, not just low end. It's and it's just proprietary crap that you'll have trouble getting anything to work with. That's not a Dell piece.
And speaking of that, one more piece of advice: if people do go the XPS route, it has a weird proprietary power supply in it. But you can go on Amazon, and for $8, there's this thing called the P10 aux Dell adapter. Doesn't mention power supply or anything, just P10 aux. That will convert any ATX power supply to plug into this board.
Oh, wow.
So that was what finally got me to pull the trigger on this, because that was a holdup for me. I was like, I'm not getting something with a power supply that I can't immediately swap out,
Right.
Because you'd be stuck with just that otherwise.
Yeah.
So that's a cool thing. But yeah, I always look down on Dell. I know, like Dell Gateway E machines, like I never thought anything of them. But they did make this the Dimension XPS line was like a high-end thing. You could even get it. You could order you could get it with an onboard, like this just shows like that it's kind of an elite setup. You could get it with onboard Yamaha sound as an option, like OPL3 built in. Mine doesn't have that, but it doesn't really matter. I have a Sound Blaster 32 and an Orpheus and stuff.
Wow.
But it was like geared towards a higher end of people. So you could get it with a Voodoo card, if you added that option. And it came with a really nice sound card and a decent video card too. A really good video card for the time that would have played anything.
Okay.
So yeah, sorry, too much information.
No, that's good. That's what everybody likes to hear is what's going on. I thought that was cool. I didn't see. I had a weird one that was nostalgic to me for probably all the wrong reasons because it was just a complete colossal pain in the butt. So I never forget. I went in and I got. So this is a little bit more of a story, I guess. So when I was in college, I had gotten a graduation gift, which was just go to the Dell shop and buy a computer, right? Get one made that's under a certain number for price, and that'll be your PC for school. And I had it the first year, and then the second year, I went and I moved all my stuff out of the dorm into my parents' house, and then I went back and did my finals week. Well, when I went back, like that night, my house, nobody was hurt, thankfully, but my house burnt down, like at home. So the computer, everything was gone. So then I had...
Geez, that's bad timing.
Yeah, well, it was just crazy right after it. So I had literally all my stuff back from school. So then they were like, I was like, I am not getting another Dell. I had that Dell for a year and I hated it. It was a Pentium 4, of course, it was like, this is 2001-ish, 2000. And so I went the next time to the Gateway store and I got another one there, and it was, it is just, it's sitting here. It's a nice tower that's just a nostalgic piece for me. I want to actually get WinDOS set up on it to try to do the whole calibration of those PC monitors that you have to use this special software for. Yeah. But it has to be done basically on an XP machine, which that one is. But anyway, a couple years ago, I went through and fully restored it because it had bad caps in it, like that were blown. I had left it in storage, and a mouse family had moved into it.
That's not what you want to see. Well, that's cool that you have it, though. I don't, because like I never had nice PCs, but I would love to just have one left over because I don't even like. Everybody's always like, oh, my first computer was a Pentium, whatever, and then I got a Pentium 2, blah blah blah, Pentium 3, and I have no idea what we had. I know that one of them was a Packard Bell, and that's it. I have no idea what the specs were.
Yeah.
I know that like one of them ran Windows 95, and I must have had Windows 98. I just don't remember like the technical details like that. I wish I had those still.
Yeah, it was something that you really didn't know much. It was almost mysterious about what it was. I would remember playing. Gosh, I just remember somebody like gave us a computer and it was an all-in-one, PC.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember. I want to say it was an IBM. Then and it was of course only just a 3.5-inch floppy drive in the all-in-one. And I would play, I think it was like one of the King's Quest games. Just, that was like all I could basically do on it.
Yeah, so like early DOS.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I really had no idea what was going on.
Yeah, were like, the computers I always got at home was like, my dad had a veterinary office, and he liked to buy a new computer every couple years. So when he got a new computer, the old one came home. So I was always a few years behind, but it was still always like, decent enough to do some things with, So my first one was like DOS and Windows 3.1 kind of games.
Okay.
Went from there, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember
but I didn't
that.
build my first computer until the 2000s. I mean, I was on like the computer squad in high school, like me and 3 other like geeks, where we'd go fix computers, that involved building them from parts sometimes, but like I never really did my own until probably 2001, I think, was the first one.
Okay.
So I missed this whole era of like building a Windows 98 PC from scratch, which is hard actually. Not hard, it's just like there's so many little quirks and features.
They've still, I mean, I was laughing about something. I had tried to add an item to a PC.
Mm-hmm.
And it was even a modern PC. Mm-hmm. And now I'm laughing. I'm like, they make modern PCs with all these, they look like all these functional inputs on the motherboard. And it's like, oh, wait, no, that's actually shared with this other lane.
You literally have like 2. Yeah.
Yeah. And
I ran into that same thing. I was so pissed off when I built my most recent PC because my last one, all the slots worked on it. Okay. And I had all this shit plugged into it, like 7 or 8 cards.
Yeah.
Sound card, USB slots, a USB-C slot, all this stuff. And then I got this new computer and I ran into the exact same thing. I had put 2 M2 drives in it. That's like 2 of your slots right there. And so now you're down from like 4 to 2 or something. Like I just didn't think about that. So I only have room for like the data path and a USB-C card. And I think that's all I have in this besides the video card.
Wow.
It's a kick-ass computer, but like we need these slots, like
I'm kind of frustrated that they just put it out there like it's so something that just shows. Yeah, because there's really no point of having all the extra hardware built there if it doesn't kind of do both, because you could always get around not having it there if it can't do it. I mean, like you say, I was trying to add this into a machine that so the reason I have 2 NVMe hard drives in the one main machine that I'm using is when I do video editing. I think like somebody told me if you're swapping that information between the 2 NVMEs, that's way faster for rendering video. And then I go and do things in back storage and slower hard drives. And
I sort of do that too. I use the second one. I used to use it as a cache drive, like for Premiere.
Okay.
I don't even really need it anymore.
Right.
But it's there if I need it.
So that's what I was like. I don't want to deal with that for a couple of extra USB. I was like, an extra 4 USB slots that don't really matter anyway.
Get that hub that Bob. Out, one that actually works.
I hope so.
None of mine do like full speed.
Oh no, they're all. I bought a couple and I swear they worked perfectly for like 3 weeks, and then after that it's like, wait, what? Nothing's working. But Yeah, that's modern technology really. It's nothing like these
so
old
cheap,
things. No.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah. I really just have these things set up over here. I don't know that I was going to play on them much of anything, but I do have an additional one. It's so funny we talked about getting so many of these. I'm interested. So how long have you had? You said you picked yours for about $40. So how long have you had those?
See if I can figure out what year that was. Because I usually keep my receipts in
Nice
in the folder with things. Let's see what year that was.
See, I can remember
2017.
Okay,
6 years ago.
2017. Wow, yeah, that was.
And I remember when I bought them, people were like poo-pooing it, and I was like, 8-inch. It's not big, but for having one on your desk, that's a good thing because two 20-inch PVMs on your desk. I've been there, and that's your whole desk. There's no room for extra monitors and things.
They're thick. I mean, you need, they have so much back to them. You can't. It's just like the CRTs all the way here in your face. But yeah, that. You're really seeing things in the future because I will not forget it. When I went and bought, I used to go get, about that same time, 2017, I would go to a recycler in the Tennessee, Nashville area, and they would sell me pallets of PVMs just for scrap prices, pretty much. And I would always tell them I didn't want to have anything to do with they'd have pallets of 8 inches and 5 inches. And I was like, man, I don't even know what I would do with those things. Just give me the big ones.
Yeah. Back then it was like 14 was the smallest anybody really wanted to deal with.
And then people got, I don't know, they stayed home and started getting on the internet, and they went crazy for the 5-inch ones for a while to just show on social media posts, basically.
I've never even seen a 5-inch in person.
They are so small. But
5 seems very small.
So I finally,
like a PS Vita.
Yeah, it's 4x3. So yeah, it's just, I actually, My Life in Gaming is actually here. He was the one, Corey was the one who gave me the one that I was fixing that's in Tate mode right now. But yeah, I can't even remember what I was talking about then just a second ago. Now,
the shift to people finally appreciating the glory of the 8-inch.
That's it. So the 8-inch, yeah. Well, I actually got a 5-inch this week on eBay. I bought one for $200.
So it was like $200
shipped, and the only reason I did that was because I have, again, the box filled with parts. I even have an extra tube already for it in case the tube's bad.
Have you ever swapped the tube? I saw that you can swap in a oscilloscope tube into these 8 inches and kind of upgrade it to a 700 TV line or something.
Oh, no, I haven't. I have never heard that. Really?
There's one that swaps straight in. I had asked a parts seller for a quote for one of those, and they said $500 used
for a tube.
Yeah.
Golly.
So I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. Yeah, if you look up, there's some tube that swaps straight into these from that's used in for, I don't know, oscilloscopes and some other PVM. But really, I mean, do I want more TV lines? That's the question, because I really like the way these look. It's almost like a dot matrix effect because it has clear vertical, almost looking scan lines in addition to the horizontal.
Right. They do the small ones. And
they do look really good. They are pretty small, I would say, but you don't sit that far away when you play one of these things. And it's 12 inches from my face right now. It's a great size, and it's good for streaming and stuff.
I think it's cool if you, like you say, if you want to have especially multiple monitors, you really can't go wrong. With these little ones, especially test. Yeah, that's I think the key. Now this is still one, thankfully, that you can find even on. I know it's maybe a little bit sad, but you can still go on and find these sometimes barely tested for like $200, right? Like that on eBay. If you're just like really wanting to get something like that. But
the last that's like attainable.
Everything else on there, but I've seen some of the really good condition 8-inch ones go for ridiculous prices too. Just crazy stuff. But yeah, I remember people didn't have any. I didn't see any real. In hindsight, I was wrong. I was sad. I still think about that. Like, man, I let like 2 pallets of 8-inch and 9 inches just go, and 5 inches just go away.
I kind of regret not getting, because like I cheaped out and I got the cheap one. You know, you could get like the higher end version of this one for, I would have spent, you know, I don't know, twice as much maybe, let's say. But even then it was still a good deal. And now those are like the ones people want. I forget what model number that is, but mine is the 8041Q. Is that the 8042Q?
Yeah. So
one?
no, the 41 and the 42Q are almost the same, but the 44Q and the 45Q have the nicer tubes. That's actually these two are 44s. So they have a 450 line tube, which the normal tube and the other one is 250 lines. So it is a kick up in resolution. This one that's sitting next to me, which we haven't really talked about, is the same. It's 8041Q. And we'll look at it. Yeah, and this one, but this one's in like this crazy portable case. That's cool. So this would have been
out of a TV cruise van or something.
And it's got literally like a little makeshift hood to watch, you know, whatever under for the for that thing. So we'll someone sent this to me, like say, hey Steve, somebody just gave me this, it doesn't work, will you look at it? And I've actually never looked at it, so we could actually test it and see if there's anything wrong with it here.
Yeah, see if it's
let's see what even
I'm gonna like do all my other power supplies now after seeing that.
Yeah, those, and it's obviously a common thing because it's happening on multiple monitors. Yeah, so I would check that out, and the good thing is, like I said, these power supplies are pretty universal. This one.
Oh, really? So it's not just specific to this?
It goes in all of them. Like this one goes in all those 4s series. Interesting.
Yeah, you've got a stockpile of those. So you could rebuild the power supplies without, you know, having a PVM down.
Yeah, that's what I kind of do. That's why I switched and rebuilt the one that was bad, you know. And look at this crazy thing. I mean, it's even got like some kind of,
I want to know what they paid for all that originally.
Like it's got a built-in.
Oh, cool.
Look at that.
Nice.
What's the built-in kickstand? Yeah, I don't know.
Mine came with these two adapter things. You said you hadn't seen them before, because I kind of wanted to get
that's
more
right.
of these.
Yeah, I had never seen those.
It's like a stand slash, it's like a rack mount kind of thing.
Right.
So you could use it as a stand. It has feet on it, but it would also work in like a rack, it looks like.
Yeah, I saw those. I don't know what. So yours actually came with them?
There were 2 in the box, yeah, and they fit right on it. Like,
do you don't have to? Do you have to screw them on anyway?
Yeah, they screw on into those 2 holes.
Okay, wow.
Near the front, or about a quarter of the way back, maybe.
Yeah, this one's definitely looking pretty nasty. Let's see. It actually has a phone number and an address in Elijah, Georgia, where it was part of Event Support Services Inc. It's 8041Q from 95. And yeah, let's just plug it in and see what happens.
I kind of like getting PVMs out west here because I always picture them being like, from Hollywood or something. And they're all kind of in that area.
Yeah.
This is a good spot to get PVMs.
Yeah, I know, right? There's so many old editing houses and things.
Mm-hmm. The 2030, or no, not the 2030. This black one, my only 19-inch. What is that one? A 1944Q.
Okay.
Which was $40. Pretty sure. Let me see. I went to pick that up, and it was this rich person's horse. It was hilarious. My wife commented, "Oh, that was $99." Okay. My wife commented like his horses lived better than we do. Like their stables were like serious houses. And then he had one of the stables was converted into like it was like leftover video editing stuff. Like he edited DVDs or something for people.
Yeah.
So that's where one of those came from.
Yeah, I know that somebody had the same thing where they had bought. Well, they sent it to me to service, and it was similar to that. It was a 1942 Q, I think, and it was an attorney had been using it to just watch evidence footage, I guess, and the guy was a chain smoker. So he sat and chain smoked right next to the PVM, and it was the stinkiest smoke. I mean, I couldn't get like an exorcist to get this smell out of this
I saw some.
thing.
Speaking of that, I just watched a documentary on the popes the other day.
Yeah.
And at the Vatican where they hold their conference, there were a whole bunch of PVM left like recently, like leftovers from the 90s. I couldn't like quite ID them, but they were like pre-Cube era PVMs.
Somebody's going to have to hit up the Vatican for their stock of old tech that they're sitting on. They probably never got rid of. Just put in a basement somewhere. Oh, all right. Let's see if we can test this. Test out this. Oh,
sorry, everyone. I'm kind of missing the chat because we're just talking without break here.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm scrolling up right now.
If you guys, I've just kind of been letting the chat it out. Everybody's been, just talking in there about random things, their own PVM pickups and things. Yeah, so these monitors would be. You know what else I was watching that? So I don't know about anybody else, but I check out some of these free streaming services. I don't really pay for the mainline ones, but I'll have them on the Roku, and if I just want to have like random TV on, like I might go and check out the Roku free channel streaming stuff, and they will play. They have like a channel that's all Iron Chef episodes from the 90s, and
wow,
so that's all. Like I'll put that on
amazing.
And just watch it. And it's all replays of that. And they'll all be sitting there watching the Iron Chefs cook. Yeah, watching these. Like each one of them has their own 8-inch monitor at their face. And I'm just like, this is awesome. There's look at them. They're just sitting there watching them cook on their own PVM.
I get caught up in that too. You're watching old movies, looking for you see PVMs everywhere because they're obviously in a soundstage and they've got the PVMs on hand. So they're like, I would just watch Batman the other day. Man, Batman has a shitload of PVMs in the Batcave, including a big honking one in the middle. Like, I don't know if it's a 40-inch, but it's like bigger than Batman. Yeah, it's like it's like they drug everything in that they had on hand and made this crazy get up for them.
Yeah, well, you got to think, I'm sure that they already had them. So they're like, yeah, go ahead. Let's use some of them. They
probably have a whole shop.
Yeah, they're like
on the studio.
Go ahead, yeah, they were. Go ahead and use those things. All right, I'm gonna try to find a good power plug over here.
I mentioned my Gremlins 2 drinking game to you.
No. Oh yeah, you did. I think.
Okay, so my drinking game that I came up with, you can't use hard liquor. That's the thing. you will die. You'll die. Like it's
There's
not
too
humanly
much.
possible. But if you drink every time there's a PVM in Gremlins 2, you'll be sufficiently drunk by the end. Because it's basically an ad for Sony Cube PVMs. Right from the very beginning. Like the first scene, Gizmo has one, and he, like when he sticks his hand out with the remote control, it's like the PVM 2030 kind of controller. And he's got a PVM right in the shop. And then it just gets crazy from there. And by the end, like, you know, if you had to drink for every PVM, you'd be really screwed. Because there's one scene when they make it to the top of the corporate tower where there's like 20 of them or more in one room. The big boss has a ton of them. Yeah, it's a huge showcase of the cubes.
Oh wow, that's so fun to look like at stuff like that. I've got to go check that one out. I actually watched a recent movie, the movie called Air about Michael Jordan's shoes that came out. I don't know. I mean, it wasn't even out in theaters that long. I noticed it was on Prime already, so I watched it. And that's like a set designer's dream from the 80s. Like they used literal early 80s. They had a media room where this guy sat there and watched old VHS tapes and Betamax tapes of NBA players on a KV wood grain CRT, and then they were all out in like the marketing office on these Tandy computers with these beautiful monitors. And then they went and they pitched Michael Jordan and his family, and they said, roll the video, and they click over and they show an actual CRT projector click on. And they showed the three lights
really
show. That's what I was like, what? Because most people wouldn't have even known that. And the only reason I know that is because the museum sent one here, and it's like the most unbelievable pain in the neck thing to calibrate. I don't even have like the right spot in my house.
Like, is it like 1 million pounds?
Yes, it's the size of it's heavier than a 20-inch like PVM. It's wide, big. It's got 3 individual tubes that somehow it beams the picture
like
through
each one. Wow.
Yeah. So, but anyway, I was like blown away.
That's good attention to detail.
That they actually did this.
I noticed in the Mr. Rogers movie with Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
There's a ton of PVMs everywhere, like in the studio scenes and stuff, but a lot of them aren't period correct. Because you'll see, you know, it's supposed to be the 80s, but there's like cubes hanging from the ceiling and stuff, but it's fine. I think also in Joker, there's some that are not period correct in the audience scenes where it says like applause. Yeah. I think it's like a Sony Cube PVM or something, and it's supposed to be like, I don't know, late 70s, early 80s, something like that. Well, these are kind of things that I have to talk to with you, because otherwise we'll never be able to talk to anyone else about them.
Did you see that? They had a PVM and it was a wrong PVM. It's like So let's see what this is. Look at this. See? Guess what? No power. Right? I bet you this has the same bad capacitors in it that we've just been talking about. Yeah.
If it powered on and you got static, you'd be.
Or
sounds like
a bad color.
But not turning on. That's exactly what mine was doing by the end.
Yeah, that's what that one did yesterday. So we'll see. Yeah, thanks for everybody showing up again. I know some people in the chat have said the stream's looking better. Thank you. I actually signed up for the early bird special for the Epos Vox new OBS class because I was tired of banging my head against the wall. I was like, I'm going to go through, because I'm like, every time I make a setting and it's right, it's because I watched and did what his video says.
Is from him too.
I was like, this is. So I said, I'm just going to do it. And just get the settings right.
I have a recommendation for you.
Okay.
So if you use Skype for people, for your guests, there's a cool feature it has. You can get an NDI plugin for OBS.
Okay.
And then Skype gives you access like raw, direct, like raw video and audio.
So it's better
for every person. I discovered this when I had to do my No, I just discovered it. I had to do a stream where it had a whole bunch of people. It was the Mr. Telethon. Corey was on that. I had like 20 different people, so I needed an audio and video feed for each one individually, which you can't really do with like Discord and stuff. But Skype is nice because it gives you NDI, so every person shows up as a different video source that you add. And the video quality that it gives you is whatever they're giving. So like if they're sending 1080p, you've got 1080p. Like it looks really good too as a side effect. You're just stuck on Skype is the sad thing.
Yeah, well, that's nice good. I didn't know there was anything that there was a good reason to use Skype. And that is actually a good reason because like you said, when you're using Discord, you're just you're stuck with whatever Discord kind of gives you.
And especially once you get into multiple people,
right.
It gets really
I could
hard
see
with
that.
audio.
I could see that being a big troublesome. All right. Yes. Here we go. Look at this. And now I'm really going to step it up here a second. First, Monty.
Anything?
No, not yet. Monty G said his wife said I look like Chris Jericho, and yes, I have gotten that all my life.
That's funny.
Yeah, the Chris Jericho. I used to actually go to I would go with my friends to wrestling, and they'd be like, what are you doing back here?" And I'm like, well, "Duh, man. Wait, we're about to have an awesome segment. Just mess with kids."
Mm-hmm.
But all right, watch this. Let's see if I can do this and not make the whole stream blow up. I'm gonna have to adjust your look here. There we go. Look at this. We got the four-way view. We got too many screens. We got like we got like 8 PVMs on the screen right now. So yeah, I even added the overhead camera a little bit. So we'll just keep talking and remove this actual power supply.
This screen over here, have you heard of Mr.'s Retina display support 1536p video output that it does?
No.
So Sorge had built a laptop using an iPad 3 screen years ago, and he added in 1536p support, which is a really weird resolution on the surface.
That is weird.
But it's actually, like, for computers and things, it's actually a brilliant one because it scales, like, in 25% steps to a lot of crazy resolutions. But Mr. can output 1536p, so that's what this one is. That's an iPad 3 monitor in a frame, which you can get for, like, $40 from AliExpress.
Okay.
A metal frame. It makes, like, I use it mostly as a monitor for my computer, but it also, like, works great for Mr. purposes.
That's very cool. I actually need to get another Mister so I can just do more for like
got
testing.
Extra Misters years ago,
right? Boy, talk about something that's about like the price of houses now. It's just like never goes, it just keeps going up, never hit. No one can have enough of them. Yeah, I think I looked at. I mean, it's in the mid 200s now. If you can find it, right?
Yeah, just for the D10.
Just the D10, yeah. But and the funny thing is it still is a better value at that price than.
It's still a great value. It's funny. I have a whole bunch of videos about like cheap Mr. setup, and they're so dated now because I was like, there was a time when it was on sale for $110, and I'm like, just go get it. It's $110. And you can play PC Engine on it right out of the box. You don't need any add-ons.
Right.
And now it's like I don't know, 210 maybe out of the box.
Yeah, if you can get, oh man, it's just crazy. But that thing is such a useful tool. I think just even outside of what we're doing with it.
Yeah, I think of it as like the ultimate. I don't know if you see it that way, as the ultimate like capture device, really.
Really?
It also, like, because instead of me plugging things in all the time like we used to do, just like, you have digital output, it goes straight in, you can send it to anything and you're rolling.
Yep.
1,000 consoles.
It's pretty easy. And even, like the one I got, you could easily output. The one I have that I've used most of the time is in my Mr. Cade one. and it does, the output on the board, but at the same time, you could just stream right out of that if you wanted, out of the digital output right on the same board. Because right now I put it on just a flat screen monitor, so I can put it in Tate because I don't have really good setup for that. And
nice.
So this one actually looks really clean inside.
Oh, that's a good sign. Do you usually how do you clean? Do you blow them out with compressed air or something?
Yeah, so I'll show you the one I've been using. It's like a generic branded one from Amazon. It's a little.
Oh, you use those things? Oh, yeah, that's what I use. Like a corded, for cleaning computers.
It's not even corded.
You got the wireless one.
Yeah, it's like a rechargeable little thing here.
Oh yeah. That's what I use. But mine has a cord.
Yeah, you can put a cord. Hey, CRT bot. Thanks for this $2 super chat. Good to see you here today.
That's awesome.
Yeah, CRT man.
CRT bot was on.
I didn't either.
YouTube.
All right, so yeah, this is our power supply that is probably bad. Let's see here. And it's the exact same, match for match model part number as my spare. But awesome. Even if the model numbers don't match completely, that doesn't really matter. But everything else,
I'll be curious to see if this fires right up for you.
Yeah, if it does, we'll take that power supply apart. I hope it does.
Bets. I'll put.
What do you think?
I'll put some beers the next time we get together.
That's what I'm saying. I'm about to actually have to go get another beer here in a second. Now that I've
me too.
Get this thing turned on. Hopefully it'll fire up. Now, if it doesn't go, I do know we'll work our way through some other things which would be interesting because there's some other things that it could possibly be. This particular PVM has, Sony put obviously glass, normal, common fuses in it, but they also did solid, board soldered in fuses. And this has a couple of them. And you have to obviously use a multimeter to check if those are blown. But if those are blown, the power won't come on.
That's a good tip. I loved working on this thing, man.
This one's actually super friendly to work on,
I didn't even remove that panel when I did the soldering. I just left it in the plastic flap. I had to lift it up to get to a few of them, but...
Oh, really?
I just flipped out its little wings and did the caps I could get to.
Oh, okay, yeah. I know what you're talking about. The one I had when I pulled it out, it had gotten so hot that it had basically glued itself inside of it.
Oh wow!
With the epoxy or the caulk that was in there. All right, that should be enough right there to test. I just need to plug my neck board back in. But even I've had a couple of good people come in and want to actually and I've talked to them many times about this size PVM and for getting service work done to them. And I'm just like, man, it is literally a labor of love because again, you're paying, more than it's actually worth to get service.
Yeah.
Which I don't
understand. I think that you're kind of anybody who repairs consoles or TVs, PVMs. It's like you're a hero because it's just I can't imagine what it would cost. Say if you hired, I don't know, someone who wasn't this wasn't what they did. Somebody who just repairs electronics in general and charges $100 an hour. How much it would cost to fix something.
Yeah, and they don't know half the what to look for really. It's all right. Let's see. Just do a file. Oh, I forgot to plug one thing in somewhere. That's the wrong plug in. That might have been fun. I plugged the ground cable in where the
Oh, Jesus.
where like the DC voltage comes out of the power supply.
Oh my God, no.
No. Thankfully, I didn't press that on. I don't know what to see. I was just chatting away and not paying attention. Only had one beer, I promise. All right, but let's see. Let's see, I can actually get that a little bit in view. No. So we're actually not getting power. Then. Maybe a fuse, maybe something else. Let's see. All right.
You sure you got it plugged in and everything?
Yeah, that's what I was about to double check. It's definitely plugged in.
That's like 90% of my problems I have
Right.
here. It just tracks down to like something is not plugged in.
All right. Let's just make sure everything actually is plugged in. Now, this one I didn't plug in is no big deal right here. People can see that's just a tally light. So that doesn't actually do anything.
How do you turn those on, by the way?
That's
the light on the front?
Use through the remote. There's a remote back here. Input. That looks... what is it? It's 8-pin. 8-pin in. All right, so that obviously, I just want to make sure everything actually is plugged in. But that one is not. Yeah, we'll have to check some fuses, I think.
Boo.
I know, I thought we'd get lucky there.
Maybe the
Make
power supply took
sure
out some fuses
I can
too.
see the fuses down there is fine. I'm definitely not. Make sure that's plugged in. Okay.
I'm gonna grab another beer, and then you
Go
can
for
grab
it.
one. But I can still hear you while I go down.
Okay. Ah, okay. Yeah, this one. Okay. I'll just make sure that this one is still plugged in by plugging it in over here. Should have plugged it. Well, it's not going to go that far. Oh, no, it's good. Let's just check some fuses. Fuses are actually on this opposite side here. Hey, Brian. Hey, James. Good to see you. Thank you for coming, hanging out. Shadow Mask. Hope y'all are having a good evening tonight. It's fun to be able to switch it up and do the evening streams when I can. All right, maybe we'll, again, have some luck here. I also have other boards we can swap in here. Let's see.
Oh yeah, do you have spares of like the color boards and things?
Yeah, so I actually have a spare of this board and the...
Nice.
Hey, Marco. Yeah, this piece, so this one is just not powering on, and this was just like a bonus one that I had here in the shop. It's 8041Q. Yeah, so if we look... I know it's going to be hard to see on 4-camera view with the little bit guy right here, but where my finger is, there's a F1601, and it's a 1.25 amp fuse that is, again, soldered into place in here. And if that blows, it won't work. So hopefully that's what's wrong with it, but if it's not, then it could be something else. I was looking around here and didn't see anything, but...
Hey, Dennis. Dennis said that he's a friend of the guy who gave me the Atari Jaguar. That's awesome.
That's cool.
I just passed on the Jag CD to Hotego.
Oh, really?
Which, like, I obsessed over this Jag CD. It was broken when it came to me. And so I gave it, like, the full Golden Glove treatment, you know, like, all new caps, what I put up, region free BIOS, I think, new laser. So it was like the ultimate Jag CD.
Wow.
So I sent that out to Hotego for FPGA work.
Nice. Yeah, I never had the Jaguar or the Jaguar CD, obviously, and I never. I remember going into again about the same time. It was probably 2016, 2017, and I went in a local retro gaming shop, and somebody had gone in and like turned in their childhood collection in box with everything. And like 15, 16 games, and they wanted like $350 for all of it. And this was before anybody cared. I know, it's one of those things where I was like, oh, I know I should buy this. I know I should buy this, and I never did. And I was like, oh, I'll never see that again. And now it's just like, yeah. Actually, I do see it now, but it's like it'll be like $1,200, even more than that, like bad. All right, let me go grab a beer.
I passed on. Yeah, you can go ahead.
Okay.
I can keep talking to the chat. I passed on Jaguar to another FPGA dev for a really good price, maybe like 3 years ago, maybe like $100 or something. And then I got the Jag CD to Hotego, and now I'm just a one Jaguar household once again. Oh, hey, Tim's here. GC8 Tech. How's it going? We were talking about librettos a little while back when Steve asked me about what I'm running on this new monitor.
All right.
Yeah, I had gotten a Jaguar. It must have been like 99 or 2 sale for nothing. And it might have been 98. It was before, it was before college. So 97, 98, somewhere in there. Got it at a garage sale, brought it home. Came with Alien versus Predator, I think, and maybe Cybermorph. I hated it. Like, I was such a douche at that point about like I was like the PC, master race by then, I guess. Like, just to the extent that like if I played Doom on my computer from almost 5 or 6 years ago, it looked insane. And then you're looking at AVP on the Jaguar, and it's just like terrible. So that might have been that and a Virtual Boy were like the two first things I ever sold on eBay. That was in the year 2000, and I think I got very little for it. So that's my Jaguar story. I really didn't like it back then, and I generally have warmed up to it now just as a curiosity.
Yeah.
And it has just enough. My rule is like, as long as a console even has just one game that's great, it's justified, because I collect arcade games anyways, and that's like costs more than a console, and you get one game in the end. So like the Jag has a handful. Like the Humans is cool. Rayman is really good on it. It has 4 or 5 cool games, really good games, I would say, and then a bunch of like junk.
Yeah, I think it's one of the Enigma weird systems. I think all of us go through these periods where we try to go back and find them. I know that for me, for the longest time, it was the 3DO, really, for some odd reason. I have no idea what it was. And
it's because it had that weird status.
Yeah, that's again.
We grew up with it, like kind of like Sega CD too. And never really, I played one maybe once or twice when it was a thing, but I always saw it as like, once you get a Sega CD, you've made it in the world.
Yeah,
that and a Lamborghini and
and the Neo Geo.
And a Neo
if you
Geo.
were lucky enough to have a Neo Geo, okay, so we actually have. Unfortunately, these fuses are good.
Ah. Darn.
So is something else in there? Because that one's obviously good. I think it's only that one. Let me look around in here and see. But what we can do is even, just for the heck of it, swap the boards and see if there's any difference. Maybe we can narrow it down to the other 2 boards, because it also could be like, obviously there's some other power stuff like up in here. We've got voltage regulators that could go bad.
How much work is it to get at that PCB on the bottom?
This one?
Yeah.
Well, it's not so much getting the PCB out. The problem is, if you look over here, these caps.
You got to discharge it. Yeah.
Well, not just that; they're glued on, like with epoxy.
Oh.
So weird. You can use acetone, I believe.
Make sure to lick your finger before you do that.
I can't get under there if I wanted to. That's the only reason I'm over here messing around with that.
Oh, so that's a mess then.
So you got to get that D off there, and then you could get that board out. But that is something that could go bad too, right? That's the horizontal, the hot, whatever, horizontal output transistor.
Down there.
That one could go bad and cause trouble, right? So that's definitely something. There's a inductor right here lying over that looks like that might not be a good thing. I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't bother taking that board out.
Oh, look at that.
Like I'd have to do a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, I'm trying to see if that part's even in there. It looks like it is, but I'm not 100% sure. It also could be. Yeah, it's in there. Just making sure that inductor's in there because they left it super long legs on it. Okay. But yeah, these ones are pretty easy to get out, so we'll just swap them and maybe we'll have one part bad.
Ooh, we're talking SVHS players.
Players.
I missed those, but I did get into Hi8 because I used to bootleg concerts.
Okay.
And I did it with had a really little Hi8 camcorder. It was my friend's dad's, and we would just borrow that. And I would sneak it into the concerts in a saltine cracker box, and I would tell them that I was diabetic. And so when they're going through your shit, and if they ever said like, "Oh, you can't bring food in," I was like, "Oh, I need that in case my blood sugar gets down." And that's how I got in.
Nice. All right. We're going to swap this board. Let's see. Because if it doesn't do anything different, then we know, hey, something else is going on. Not on this board, probably.
So nicely organized. This one.
Yeah.
I remember you said that you thought the PVM 2030 was easy to work on.
Oh, I don't think I said that was easy to work on. No, that one is.
Yeah, because I opened up my 2030 and like I immediately put it back together, and I was like, no, I'm waiting till this breaks.
It is not. No, that one's terrible. Now this one does have some of the. I don't know why. This is probably bad, but it's like an easy association. This board has Jammy-Con. Jammy. And I always just want to call them Jamaican caps. Jammy-Con caps. That's not
what's in the Vectrex.
Yeah, that's not that great. It's not the worst, but they're not.
I don't want to see those things. No way.
They're not, especially when they're 30 years old.
The only cons I want to see are like Rubicon, Nishicon, Chemicon.
Yeah.
No Jamicon, no Capscon. Whatever, Capscon.
All right.
Rookie-Con.
Thanks for coming tonight, Belmont. Take care, man. All right, I'm going to go grab the extra boards. They're right here. No. Right here.
Oh, they want to know what I think of the Analog Duo. I think it looks cool.
So here's the problem.
I think it's interesting that they're going to get into CDs.
So this board, if I look at it, I'll show it to you.
Oh, that one you've recapped, right?
No. This was one I just grabbed out of the parts bin. So it could be bad also. But it looked fine, but the problem is like it was scrapped, so the person who scrapped it cut this cable because it stays in that board right there. So I have to desolder this one and resolder.
Sucks. I mean, it pops right out.
Yeah, well, it pops out on this end, and then they just cut it on this end. All right, so let's try the other board. Maybe we'll get lucky. It's a color board issue. I doubt it, but let's swap that board because that one doesn't have the same problem.
OK Town asks how the retro PCs come in. We talked about that like 20 minutes ago. If you
if you go back,
is over, you can go back.
We talked a good bit
at
about
length.
So
it's going good though. Everything on it works. Now I'm just like obsessing over little things like I recapped the power supply. I recapped the Sound Blaster card. Little things like that. Or no, actually, the power supply I didn't recap. That's right. I have one that's recapped that's going in a different computer build later.
So definitely check out. Yeah, we talked a lot about the build and everything. Oh, so I had I had a funny thing today. I had to go on a school field trip for my daughter. And she's in first grade. So we went yeah. So we went to this place called, there's a university here, and they have like a garden there called an arboretum, where it's just filled with, flowers, paths.
Nashville?
No, this is actually I live in Virginia now.
Oh, okay.
So this is in, the university is called James Madison University. So they have this big gardens there, and that's where this field trip was at. And the first half of the field trip was them going to like a playground. And I got there and I'd never really done anything. And the teacher was like, "Hey, nice to meet you, Mr. Nutter. You can watch your daughter and this other kid, this boy named, I can't even remember his name now. I want to say, I feel bad, but Gordy, that was his name, Gordy. I knew it was a G. I knew it was a G. Anyway, fine kid. He was running around, first grade too, boy. But we got through the first part, which was crazy, trying to watch them at a playground, keep up with them. So the second half was in the gardens, and it was like a tour through the gardens. And they're like, "Now, don't touch stuff because there could be poison ivy in here, right?" And that's all of them. "Oh, who's going to get poison ivy?" "I don't want poison ivy." "What about you? You're going to get poison ivy?" Well, I mean, my daughter didn't get poison ivy, but within like 5 minutes, I hear this boy who I'm supposed to be watching go, "Oh!" And I'm like, "What did you do?" And he's like, "I think I got poison ivy." I look down at his hand, and it's broken out. It just hives. And he's like scratching, and I'm like, "Yeah, you got poison ivy."
On your watch.
Yeah, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, great. The kid I was watching, only kid I was watching got poison ivy." And so that's
a good lesson for him.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, that's what they were like. "Now don't touch anything unless it's dead and like not growing." And then some kid would like pull a flower, and the lady was like, "Oh, I see. You just couldn't help yourself."
They gotta love that.
Yeah, that's what I said. I said, this lady, she probably is like over this. All right. And then my son, he has a field trip tomorrow, so I don't have to go to that one, thankfully. He's in middle school. My wife will go to that one and embarrass him. He's at that age where he doesn't want to miss anybody to be around. Not cool parents,
He doesn't even know how cool you guys are.
All right, let's just, I don't think there's anything much that can go bad on this board, but we'll just swap it because I don't think that there's anything that can, it looks a little different.
That you just have all these.
No, this one's missing a part too, actually, now that I'm looking at it. This one has, an unpopulated spot right there. Let me see if I can if it moved to a different spot. What does that one go to, I wonder? We'll just leave it unplugged. See if it makes any difference, because I don't think it's...
So when you get a 8-inch, if you get it working, you list it for sale with your patrons or on eBay or something? Or do you use these?
So I don't... The 8-inch ones, I haven't really sold any of them, I don't think. I don't know. The used ones I usually sell on Patreon. Are predominantly 14-inchers. Most of the time, and these ones I might I would like to probably get rid of one of them eventually. I've also got the newer one, like a 9L.
Are those 9-inch then, or are they 8-inch?
No, they're still 8-inch. Okay. It's just,
I think I looked at those too. Yeah, I kind of regret not getting, because they were so cheap back then too. And I just got the cheapest of the cheap that you could get to get these.
Yeah.
I got one at 40, and then the seller had other ones listed, and I was like, can you combine shipping? And the combined shipping was nothing, so I just bought all 3 of them from him.
Look at this crazy stuff. There's some crazy factory botches in here where they added and it's on both boards. I never noticed this before. They got the legs of these capacitors here with it's hard to see, but there's a resistor, twisted in and soldered to the leg on. These are bipolar capacitors, so it's just odd. Yeah.
I never replace those anyways because I don't keep them around.
Yeah, those are I have a couple of them, and sometimes I don't.
I might have one
them.
value.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, I can't fathom why that was depopulated on this board. Connection 106. Trying to even see what it is. It's not.
Oh, James is asking, how's the new Pumpkins out? I love it. It's phenomenal, but you have to give it a few listens, is my advice. And I didn't like that they released it 1 track at a time, 1 track per week, because I was finding myself not liking a lot of songs when they did it that way. But as a whole, it's awesome. That's my thoughts on that.
Excellent.
Oh, I wore this shirt today because you're into Reebok pumps.
Oh, yeah.
And in the game Drac Attack on the NES,
yeah,
Drac wears Reebok pumps in that game.
He does?
You got to play. It's a prototype. Yeah, it's like an ad for Reebok pumps.
Oh, okay.
And I think it's the only appearance of Reebok pumps in any game. Even in the Shaq games, he's not wearing Shaqs.
Yeah.
So that's my theory.
Okay. I actually have, I have a pair of pumps. And
yeah, I saw that badass pair. You got Omnis.
Yeah,
I have a bin full of pumps.
Really?
I can't wear them anymore because out west it's so hot.
Oh yeah, they're hard to wear.
Yeah, they're like boots.
They are like boots.
So just very special occasions.
And I can't run in them. I need to get some better insoles for them or something, because they are just so flat that I even have flatter foot, and I get if I try to run real quick in them, my arches just start hurting immensely. Mm-hmm. And so I don't know about it, but I definitely had to go back. It's one of those things again. I got my 3DO and my
mm-hmm. I just got into the 3DO recently too in the last couple of years. I was looking for one everywhere. I wanted a specific one, with the RGB switch on it, or not RGB, 240p switch.
Right, the European one or something.
Yeah, I didn't end up getting that. Joe Redifer sent me one of his old ones, and then I found a new version of the 240p mod that's really easy. I tweeted about this, 10 times easier than the old one. It's just
okay,
1 or 2 wires maybe.
Yeah.
And that S video with 240p, it looks good.
Right. Just is it the one where you just put a little switch in, or?
Yeah, you put a switch. There was an original mod, which I'd done originally. That one's a pain because every time you turn it on, you have to have it in 480i mode and then switch to 240p. Otherwise, you get a black screen. Mm-hmm. And every time you reset. The new one actually triggers it exactly the same way as the native switch on them.
Okay.
So you can do it in game. You can leave it starts up. It's just like totally perfect.
Wow.
So after I did that, because I had been considering the RGB too, and I was like, I'm never gonna play this thing, so I probably don't need the RGB mod if the S video looks fine.
Yeah.
I would kind of like to stream with it. I mean, it has some pretty fantastic stuff on it. Wing Commander 3 it has like the best version of it.
Did you ever play I actually have Wing Commander 3. Did you ever play a game called Wirehead on it or heard of that one?
I might have heard of that.
I
burned like 70 discs for it.
Okay.
Like games that I was not ironically like games I'm actually interested in.
It's one of these wacky FMV videos or games where you control a guy and you're doing like a story with him, and it's just one of the more unique, crazy ones. That no, that one actually. No, I'm sorry, that one was on the Sega CD. See, now I'm thinking the wrong things.
It's easy to get the FMV stuff mixed up.
But the one thing I really liked on it on the 3DO is the light gun games. I have
it has a bunch of them.
Yeah, I bought. See, when I bought my 3DO, it was when nobody again wanted it. It was from a pawn shop, and it came in. It was the first one I bought was an FC1. It came in the original box, and it was like $150 for it. And I opened the box, and the pawn shop had thrown all this stuff in it, and it was like 3 games, like 10 demo discs, and then it had the game gun in the box. The boxed game gun came in it, and there was
that's very valuable now.
I know that's like the most valuable thing I have is this game gun in the box. So there's that, and then it had this really old school homemade or third party adapter to plug in 2 Super Nintendo controllers.
Oh wow, yeah.
And it was again way old from like the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's valuable too, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's been remade now, but
there's a couple of, since you have the gun, I can't play these because I don't have one, but somebody converted, there were a couple of arcade games that were just 3DOs inside.
Okay.
Gun games. And there's mods to run them on the real 3DO if you have the gun.
Oh, I didn't know that either. Yeah, I've got the real deal. I should go get that thing.
That's cool.
So there's some amazing, just gun games. One of them is Drug Wars, but it's like crime something. Anyway, it's a sequel to this cop game where you just shoot stuff, but this second one is called Drug Wars, and it's literally a cheesy like Tony Montana who you're chasing around, and you're the young cop trying to infiltrate the drug cartel, and you're shooting FMV video where you just basically have to remember where every person pops up. Mm-hmm. So, but it's been a while since I've played anything on it. I know that somebody, there's an optical drive emulator that's pretty available.
I was on the verge of getting that, but I figured like one day when my disk drive stops working, I'll get one because it's kind of pricey.
Yeah, that's true.
Really into it.
It's still, it's like a $300 investment. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And like, I think the 3DO is cool, but I need to see if I would really get my money's worth out of it. Because especially since I burned all these discs already, which took forever.
Yeah.
Because I burn at 1x.
You do?
Oh, yeah.
What are you using? That's a good conversation. What are you using to burn a CD or the CD right now? Is it just an external like DVD burner?
I have you asked the wrong guy because I collect these, but I make this is my main one is a Plextor or something. I just like the made in Japan Plexters and Yamahas mainly is what I go for. And then you can get any old USB 1.0, like old external drive. You can get these for nothing. And then you just stick them in here and you've got a little external burner in it. You don't need drivers or anything. You just plug it into Windows and it's like ready to go. And they're like, I've never burnt. I might have burned like 1 or 2 coasters ever with this thing. So they're just like badass. Inside, it's all brass rails. Okay. Really nice laser. Just like nothing at all like what came later once they like started moving to like China and Malaysia and stuff.
That's cool. So how long does it take to burn the game at 1X?
Maybe is it like an hour? Maybe like 40 minutes, something like that.
And but it just does it seem to work a lot better always when you do it at that?
It's just a stupid thing. It's just a stupid thing. Some people even say that maybe with modern media than going at like the speed they're rated for. But I've just always, since the beginning of time, I've just always burned at 1X. So I just keep doing it because I don't want to change the tradition. You know, I also have 4 or 5, so I can be doing 4 or 5 at once.
Okay.
You know, like when I was doing the 3DO, I had my whole stack out.
Okay. Wow. So yeah, you literally have been burning those for a while then.
Yeah, that was like a week, you know, getting all those puppies out.
Oh, awesome.
Because I do have like 200 or 300 discs that I wanted to get through before I die, so that was a good use of a chunk of them. Because otherwise, like, you just keep toting them around for like 20 more years or whatever. I've already had them for 10.
I mean, yeah, the thing about just like I always feel like when I get the optical drive emulator, then I just pop it in and unless it's something I really want, it almost becomes like it turns the console kind of into the emulation experience where you're easily able to switch between games, so you're not really invested in it. You don't try some things, you just let it go, you laugh at it and move on, which some of the things are fine.
I think ODs are cool. They're just so expensive.
Yeah, they are too.
Like, I don't know. And then some of them that do like multi-device, you know, there's a new one coming that's going to do a whole bunch of different consoles. That's great. It's great that it can do that, but it doesn't do me any good. Right. I need it to be cheap, like $300. If I was going to get one for every console it covered, talking like $3,000, you know? Yeah. I'd rather have specialized ones that are cheaper, you know, like the Fenrir is really cheap, you know, and then I can actually think about it. Because like even the mode, like $300 for a Dreamcast, when I have all these burned discs, I have a mode in this one and in my Saturn. But I got those for free. I don't know if I could afford to buy like $600 worth of just for 2 consoles, and they read discs just fine, and that's how I've always done it. Yeah, but I would get like like $100 is a great deal. That's, you know, like for the Fenrir or whatever. But talking $300, like I have to be seriously invested in a console to dump that kind of money in just to one of them.
It's a lot. It is a lot for sure. And you're not just even talking about that, because you could easily pay $300 getting a kind of refurbished 3DO console, you know? So then you're trying to spend $300 for the console to get it going, and then another $300 for the optical drive emulator. So
it's
you're
just
talking
one piece of the whole thing.
Yeah. You're like investing $600 or $700 into a system, and then it's at that price level, you feel like you should be playing it like nonstop. Now there was there was one game that I actually liked, and I don't know if you've tried this on the 3DO, but it was a first-person shooter. And I think it was called Killing Time. Has anybody in the chat heard of Killing Time? So it was like you went into this weird old mansion, and there were a lot of you'd fight these, like the FMVs would come out as like ghost characters, and they'd be real characters telling you part of the story. That was pretty cool. The problem is the original game, which I had a copy of, you got into the basement of the house and it had a bug in it where this is like 4 hours into this first person shooter, and it would just start crashing. Like you'd walk in the downstairs and it had like this dark, like doom walls, and then it just start flashing in front of you. And I got so frustrated because I couldn't. There's no way to update.
It's 4 hours in.
It was. I looked it up, and this was, of course, well after. And it was like, oh yeah, if you get the killing time disc that's like black instead of red, it's an original one, and those are the ones that can't get past the fourth or the basement, and it glitches out. And so I was, I wanted to beat that game a lot, and then I couldn't do anything about it because I never had that real game in there.
Burn a disc.
That's what I have to do. Go 1X and burn it.
And then play 4 hours into it.
That's the thing. You do that.
We've got another topic to talk about.
Okay.
What I was back there doing, I wanted to get my 2 Toshibas on.
Oh, yes.
So this is the Toshiba you just reviewed. Although you reviewed the larger version of it.
Yeah, I'm going to move it over here.
I have the 14AF 43 and 20AF 43. Which,
okay.
I had gone to pick up the 20. This is when I lived in Madison, Wisconsin. I think it was free. It was next to free. And they were like, oh, we have the 14-inch of this too if you want that. And I was like, okay. Because they have component inputs.
Right.
And that was when I was just first going RGB Master Race and using a component transcoder. Like this one is actually, I always used it for NES and Atari 7800S video. And then this one was like one of my first component bearing CRTs.
Okay.
But I think that well, first of all, you gave them a C- in your video.
Okay.
And actually, when I was an undergrad, I would have the opportunity to take classes pass fail sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And C- is like, that's what you're going for.
Oh yeah,
that's
I know.
Like the least amount of work, and you still get full credit. So I think the Toshiba did pretty well in that respect.
Yeah.
But I think you also got a bunk unit that you were looking at, because mine don't have that ghosting and stuff that you were.
Well, I gotta tell you too. I found, because a lot of people have reached out to me on a number of things. They're
very politely,
right. The AF45, the one that I reviewed, the actual like 44 and the 43 before it were supposedly much better made, and I don't know, some people told me they don't even have the same like lead-free solder issues, and they may even have,
would be sweet.
They may even have better tubes in them. Now, did you
crack mine open? I didn't do. I was gonna.
I was gonna say, did you do that?
No,
edge thing. Okay.
No, I will though. When I do that, I'll take pictures and then you can.
Yeah.
I bet those people are wrong.
Yeah, it's probably just an Orion, and that's the thing. If it's not an Orion tube, we know it's different.
Okay.
But that was.
So I found these because when I had. So at the time, I needed smaller TVs, and I had a Trinitron, 2 nice big Trinitrons, and a Mitsubishi, a really big one. I think they were all 27s or so. And I had gone to the second time I went to the Midwest Gaming Convention, it was like 2015 maybe.
Okay.
And so they had their console room where I was like looking at it like shopping my next TV, because I wanted to get a different one, and back then you could just get anything you wanted for pretty much nothing. So I'd been going around the room, and I mean, I had already had Trinitron, so I had done that, I felt like, and they looked okay. But I actually saw the 20, I wrote down the model number of the 20AF43 at the convention, because it just stood out as like looking good. Maybe in retrospect, I thought that flat screens looked better back then. Maybe that's what it was. But it stood out for some reason at the convention in this room full of nice TVs and maybe a few PVMs and things. That's how I found them.
So See, I have a Toshiba that came out right before this AF series. That's the bubble screen still, and it's a 32 inch, and it's a beautiful consumer set. Like the way it works and looks. It was one that my mom bought after that. Cool. It was after that house fire.
Oh, okay.
She bought it, and then it has component. It's still bubble tube, and it looks amazing. And she's like, "You want this?" And I was like, "Yeah, I still want it." It's still upstairs in my main living room. It's like the main TV. I have all these down converters to put modern stuff into it. And
Toshiba stuff is awesome. Like,
yeah, I can't complain about it. Most of that.
I opened up. I don't know if you can see it. There's a sound bar up here, 42 speaker sound bar, shielded. See. Oh, I don't know if you can see it. Oh, yeah. Up here, shielded Toshiba 42 speaker sound bar from back in the day.
Whoa,
it's up there, kind of vertical. It's fully shielded, and I opened it up, and it's like audio grade Nishikons. Like it's all like gold caps, and like it's real. It has like 3 layers of metal shielding you have to get through just to get into it. It's heavy as hell. Like this thing's monsters. And then those old CD burns too that are Toshiba are like fantastic inside. Like you wouldn't recap them unless they broke, kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a Toshiba YSP 1000. If anybody's looking that. I'm using it as the speaker for this PVM. The gray one here.
Just the one?
Yeah, and it's also hooked up to the TV up there.
Okay.
There's a workout room behind those
curtains
back there.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about this, because this is one of the things you came back and we're talking about kind of I don't know whether we call it the Smoke Monster comeback tour, but one of the first things you did was show off your home theater room and the challenges with putting that together. And
that was so this is my first house I've ever lived in here.
Okay.
And so I went, like, it's the first time I've had space, and we had an extra room, like there's an extra small bedroom, so I converted that into a home theater with like I had full reign in there to do whatever I want, kind of room, like, so I like draped it in black velvet, the blacked out now the ceiling with black velvet. I put in black carpet, and then I have like a 4K. I actually just sent it back because I got an RMA. My projector got a stuck pixel a few weeks ago. And it's way past. The thing is, it's like 6 months out of warranty, and they still gave me an RMA for it. So awesome.
Nice. That is good.
Vava Chroma. So they actually won me back, because I was kind of like not really crazy about them. I don't know if you caught that in my video I did.
Yeah.
But now they won me back, because that's insanely awesome. So I'm going to get a replacement. It's a 4K triple laser ultra short throw projector. So you don't need, it's a tiny room, but you don't, normally with a projector, you need quite a long throw.
Right.
Like, all the projectors I was looking at were longer than my, so the ultra short throw is kind of perfect in there.
Yeah, there was one when I went to work with last year, the museum in Houston. They had like the most expensive projector they had was one that was almost, it looked like 5 or 6 feet back from where it was being projected on the wall, and it was like coming down, and it was such a short down. And I was like, that's pretty nuts, because they were using it in they had the Obama presidential portraits there, and I couldn't believe it, like how the playback video was coming from just like, because every
cool.
other,
then the audience doesn't block it.
No, because then they're like, people would walk right up to it, right, and it wouldn't block, because every other one you notice that people would walk right up to it and their shadow would be on it. This one,
mine is, I think, like 22 inches from the wall.
Okay, yeah, that's crazy.
135 inches is my screen.
Okay,
so yeah, it is almost like magic. It's a pain in the ass. I mean, if they mounted it on the ceiling, somebody probably spent like full day doing that.
Yeah,
Keeps getting it set up. But yeah, like once I got it where I wanted it, I was like, there's like a no-go zone where like you don't want to bump into it. You know, I bumped into it early on and had to redo it all.
Yeah.
Just a barely touching it.
That's incredible what you said. That's what the guy told me. That's literally, you know, he's the head of the AV department for the museum, and he has to go around every morning and then periodically through the day and check all the projectors, because like you say, it could take nothing for it to, if it moves at all, it's going to look bad. And
yeah, like a millimeter. Like you're adjusting
nothing.
Perfect. Otherwise, you've got like lines showing up, or it's going off your screen.
Yeah, he actually.
Oh, that'd be a crazy job.
That's what he was like. I talked to him recently. He came through a couple weeks ago, and for another thing he was doing, and he stopped by and he was telling me about. I said, "What are you working on now?" And he's like, "Oh, it's one of these that has." He said, "I'm going to be working on it for like 6 weeks because I think he said it had like 14. It was one room with 14 different projectors set up in it."
Oh wow! Like all the way around.
Yeah, like all different places for different visual effects. Like that's
that is
the
cool
whole
museums.
Yeah, that's where you go in, and it's a whole experience, right? In the room,
surround sound.
Yeah. And so I don't know. That's what he's like, yeah, I've got to try to figure it out, and that's why he sent me with this working. It's literally from 1985 with native RGB 240p BNC in on this professional Sony projector, and it works. We got it working. He wants me to learn how to set it up so that I could go, and he's like, I need you to be the contractor that comes in and helps me set up all these projectors. I'm like, man, I don't know anything about this stuff, but he's like, here, take this and figure it out, man. So
that's awesome.
I haven't had a lot of chance to do that yet, but I'm looking forward to, hopefully I've got to clear out like a space where I can actually make adjustments and see it happen kind of thing, you know?
Those are really interesting, the CRT projectors. I know Vanessa has one, a huge one.
Really?
In her garage, yeah.
Whew.
Yeah, because it's like it's like all the benefits of a CRT, plus you get scan lines, right?
Yeah.
And it's like zero input lag.
Of course. Now the funny thing is like the lumens on them is super low. Like it's like 100 lumens per bulb. Which, if you look at,
so it needs to be like pitch black,
right? It needs to be pretty much pitch black for it to look the best. So
that's what I found with my projector. Like, it looked okay when I first got it. It looked good. You'd say that looks good, but like the more black I made that room, like every little bit of black that I went in there, the black carpet made it look way better. Blacking out the ceiling made it look so much, and like once everything was black in there, it just looks like 1,000 times better because it's relatively low lumen too compared to like a big powerful projector.
Yeah, I think that's a big key thing. I mean, it always is. Even when using professional CRTs, a lot of times in the BVMs, they were meant to be used in extremely dark environments, as dark as you can make them. So.
Oh, I wanted to ask you. Oh, and before I forget, I did have another cool thing since we were mentioning the shielded Yamaha soundbar up there. I had a cool thing that I wanted to tell you about. So you remember the Bose radio? This thing back here, Bose Wave radios?
Yep, I remember those.
They don't sound very good. I'll say that. They're magnetically shielded and they're cheap.
Okay.
So they're kind of like in here I didn't want to do switching setup with a million different RCA inputs to everything. Like I just want to have each PVM has some speakers attached to it. So like that PVM or one of the PVM, that one here gets that Bose Wave radio.
Okay.
And then I've also, but something that's really nice are Bose music monitor speakers. Actually, I don't think I can grab any right now. Oh yeah, I can.
Good old Bose Wave radios. My in-laws
Bose
have
Wave
like,
radio.
my in-laws have like a
sounds-
half a dozen of those just hanging
It
around
really
the
doesn't
house.
sound very good. The Bose Wave radio. Like I'll say that. Like people are right to critique it, but these Bose music monitors are fully shielded. They're metal. They
Nice.
sound for the size. Like they sound phenomenal. Like obscenely good. They're like if you go on eBay, they're like $100-$150, but you can actually stock eBay. Or I got some on Mercari. Like I've got like 3 or 4 pairs now for like all less than $50 each shipped. So you can find them cheap if people don't know what they are exactly. And these things, they're tiny.
Yeah.
They look really good next to a PVM. Like they come in black. I've got some with my 2030 that look really good. These are insanely good if you just need some like, obviously it's not going to be like bumping or anything in your house, but just like if you just want some small speakers
that don't
they put
interfere
a
with
little
it.
bit of bass.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, I always, that's great. Yeah. People are always asking about that. And I, most of the time, do tell them to go and try to find things that are from that era because it's never an issue of, it doesn't matter how high quality the speakers are kind of now. They've gotten rid of that whole shielding process because it's not the same type of shielding that you need for modern stuff. It's not like that magnetism doesn't affect anything. So you could buy the best speakers on the planet right now and they wouldn't really probably have any shielding against. So that's why I'm like, you really aren't doing yourself any favors most of the time by buying new stuff to pair it.
I think you can get the Bose Wave radio and the Wave CD player. In order to figure this out, I watched teardown videos before I got one, and you can just see that it's shielded. And then I got it in here and I tested it, and I mean it does no interference whatsoever. It looks like the Bose Wave and their CD player are shielded. And then there was like this $4,000 the original Bose.
Yeah,
it looks cool. And it has a tape player on top, so it's basically a badass boombox. It's fully shielded, except the subwoofer on the bottom of it isn't. So you'd have to put it under a TV. But they aren't very expensive. Like none of this is. I mean, there's a million Wave radios.
Well, and if you're talking about the Wave radio, it makes sense that it had to be shielded because how many people do you think just bought that thing and set it right on top of their console TV? Yep. That would have been the first thing that most people probably did.
Yep.
All right. I think we got some questions. James, I don't know if you're asking me if we've ever had to use a degaussing coil. Yes.
I got one. I had questions about this, actually.
Oh, you did? Cool. Yeah, I use it all the time. All the time. If I have a magnetism issue.
I got rid of a little bit, but not all. In the
okay.
corner of one of my Toshibas, it has a little bit of, I don't know, must have sat next to a speaker or something. Just a tiny bit of off-coloring. But I waved this around kind of like I saw you do in one video, like a wizard. And I did that for a while, and it actually did make it way better, but I didn't know if there was any risk of damaging it, so I didn't do it very long.
So the only thing that they say to be mindful of is that thing generates a lot of heat. And so you can't run it for like more than 2 minutes at a time, really. And then you need to let it cool for like half an hour. Yeah, it runs an enormous amount. It'll catch fire if you just like turn it on and left it.
Great.
Like,
is there any risk it can do to the TVs or whatever?
Not generally. I know people are always like, "Oh, you probably fried out your wallet, cards, your hard drives."
Oh yeah, I didn't even think about that.
It never messes with anything. I've never had it mess with anything. The only thing it does
and it can't hurt the tube or anything? No,
but the only thing it will do is it'll jack up the magnetism in front of it. So if you have like another CRT right next to it, you kind of have to do them together in a bigger motion to make,
Gotcha.
It will mess up the other CRTs around it possibly, but no, those things are great because they like, there's so many times that these small ones, I think even today, I mean, you could see I've got a little bit discoloration on one of them that I'd been dealing with in the corner down here. and I degaussed it before, but then I moved it. I spin it, and it'll pick up. Just moving it sometimes picks up magnetism on some of them.
I had one that if I put it in a certain point in my house, it would get discolored. Like there was.
You got a magnetic hit, yeah. You got a magnetic anomaly in your home. That's maybe that's why you could use a CRT for other things like detecting things. I always laughed about what was that horror movie that came out a while ago with John Krasinski, The Quiet thing. And it's like and then the aliens like get high frequencies. It's like, oh well, then all you have to do is have 100 CRTs in your house and turn them on, and you'll be okay.
Yeah,
that was what saved the family at that movie. But
and I also wanted to pick your brain about. I got out because Pork Chop Express, Mr. Add-ons had shown I had this one forever. Like I got this a long, long time. It's the Samsung 13-inch like GX gaming TV it has doors that open on it.
Yeah.
With speakers. I just once I got the Toshiba, I thought it was so much better and it had component that I just kind of retired this thing. But I did get it out recently. And I was curious. It actually does look pretty good. In retrospect, just with composite going into it.
I've never seen that TV in person. I just recently saw where, well, you know him, Jose Cruz. He RGB modded one of those for a customer in New York. And I know that he wound up like cutting some of the shell to add a input for it, but that was it.
That would be cool.
But yeah, because
the problem with it is that you only have composite or RF in on them.
Yeah,
which is no big deal for NES, for example. Mine's not modded.
Yeah, I mean, my modded one, it always gives me trouble anyway. I don't know why, but
yeah, I think you would find this TV sort of a curiosity.
I would like to
see you tear one down.
Yeah, it's one of those I've it's on the list of things that one. Have you seen the space helmet JVC? It was. I think it was.
I know which one you're talking about.
Like it's actual space helmet, like a red helmet with the almost like motorcycle visor look that's in front of the tube. Those are pretty crazy. I've not seen those very often at all, even come up for sale.
I've never seen one in person, yeah.
Yeah, they're so that's one that I'd like to see. Do you do much
work with PC monitors?
Well, sometimes I've actually got an FW900 that I'm about to start restoring for a client here soon. So that'll be a pretty big one. It does work already, just needs refurbishing.
One of those.
Yeah, so I'll be working on that real soon, and that's pretty much as complex as it gets. That will be fun. The last one I tried it had a bad tube, so it never worked at the end of the day. But I do work on them sometimes. It's just depending on what it is.
Probably just high-end ones are the only ones people would bother with, mostly, I imagine.
Yeah. And I can't that's kind of a funny thing. I've had to try to transition away from a lot of things. I can't, a lot of people want to try to bring in, I've got this CRT and I don't really know what's wrong with it kind of thing. And sometimes those are it's just too much, right? Before, it's similar. It's similar to
like, what point is it worth?
Yeah, it's like
bringing in. It's going to take 20 hours, and
it's like bringing in a car to a mechanic that you just found, and you're like, it doesn't run, but I want it to run. And they're like, okay.
Oh, they're buying them broken and thinking
yeah, like, okay, I don't know what's wrong with this. Right. Yeah. So, with that kind of stuff, it's like, you really shouldn't be even probably bringing it. So that a lot of times I'll tell people not to do that or not to bring it here because I'm like, you don't want to pay me to work on it. But
yeah, then you'd be better off just buying it working.
That's what I try to,
to begin with.
Or trying to find something, that would be better off that works. That that's a thing.
Yeah, buying things broken, that has backfired. I mean, I buy a lot of, and it's almost like if you fix it yourself, you're not really out anything because it's usually only worth its weight in shipping or so, But if you're talking about paying someone to fix it, I mean, you're way better off just buying it working to begin with.
So that's like a lot of times I try to tell people, I'm like, look, the way this works best for everybody is if you it's like a preventative thing, right? Or it's obvious fails that I know about kind of thing. But it's more of, hey, you got it, it's working, and you need to kind of make sure it stays that way if it's really important, as opposed to buying it broken. Can you and then try to
the tube is broken or just like...
well, that happened recently. Somebody sent a really high end multi-format 20-inch BVM in, and I turned it on and I could tell right away. I was like, oh, this tube is bad just from what it was doing. And then I looked at it, it had 150,000 hours on it. Oh, so I was like, and I sent the back guy and I was like, and I felt bad, but it's like, just take it for parts, because I can't find that tube anymore. Like a multi-format a big tube, that's impossible. Almost, not all the way, but close to it. You got to just it's like taking an engine. It's like taking an engine from another car to put it in your car. That's basically what you're doing.
Yeah,
but
that's a bummer.
So you've used that little one. It did work some? I've never used that little one.
Yeah, it worked. I mean, it definitely improved that corner. And now it's like, if you look close, you can see there's a tiny bit of discoloring left, but I didn't know. Probably if I just go at it some more, maybe it'll be completely cleared up then. Yeah,
just got to watch you can use your form. I'm trying to think of the best way to, like you start and you move a little bit towards the set in a motion, circular motion, like getting smaller, getting close into it. And then you like back away again, with that circular motion getting larger. It's just kind of silly.
I saw you do it in some video and I was trying to.
Yeah. I was thinking about just making a video of me just doing that. Every clip of me ever doing that. Just in the worst ones ever were the 40-inch CRTs I worked on. Those you couldn't get the color all the way to match on that no matter what. Those were ridiculous. Mitsubishi used to make 40-inch consumer CRTs in the late 90s.
Do people drive those to you if you're gonna work on that? Or
I don't usually work on stuff that big.
Yeah.
Like I don't, unless it's I don't like to work on stuff that's bigger than 20. A consumer set, like 24 inches is kind of the maximum I can fit almost. Unless, like, I have to basically clear out the shop and then I can fit in a 30+ inch one and work on it. Hey, Del.
You probably have to get people to help you move things around.
Well, I think we've got some ways to move it, but it's not. Yeah, it's not something you can do forever.
My buddy has I think it's a 34-inch XBR 960.
Okay, yeah.
And he's a sponsored bodybuilder, and I still, when I go to his house, I have to help him get around to the back of this thing. Like it's again like 250 pounds, something like that. Like it's insane.
Yeah,
It's kind of a cool set for like it's not good at all for 240p, but he has like Xbox 360 and Xbox and like PS3 on it.
Mm-hmm.
And those look really good on it. I think it's like it can do it's 1080i native.
Right.
It's interesting. And then it has HDMI input on it even.
Yeah. I've not messed with those really at all, and I don't know. I haven't had a time.
You need like two, three people to help you.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is you need a lot. So what I'm planning on doing is going to like there's a show I go to outside of Nashville regularly, and that guy's got like 50 CRTs for his show, and I'm like, this year I'm going to go and pick out like 10 of them that I never want to like own, that are big, and I'll do like a teardown in the convention in a quiet room or something and film it.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
While he has them there, as opposed to me trying to find them and look at them. Because that's one of the things I like about what I do is I get like these really high end cool monitors here that are big, and I get to work on them and see them and check them out, and then I get to get them out of here. Just because, and then I get to like get the new ones and and other different ones. So that's always fun to me about it, is being able to kind of use them and then move on and check out something else, as opposed to just having. I always have trouble just saying, I just have one that I really want to look at or work on. They're so different. But
yeah, I've got that problem too.
I'm like lucky I don't have to have them. I could just enjoy them for a little bit and then send them back to their owners.
I should have been better about selling them off, but now I do actually have space for all of them, so I might as well. This is like their one last chance here before I'll probably pare down eventually one day. But I was like, I have this room. I'm doing a game room. I kind of wanted to do like 1 or 2 consoles on each one.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of like apparently what I was building up for, getting all these things. So this is like the first time I've had them all out like this. I've been hauling them around forever.
So you've just been, I guess you would have if you had them that long.
Yeah, I had a storage unit in Illinois, and I had a storage unit in Madison, and then I had a storage unit when we moved to San Diego. Each time the unit got smaller and smaller.
Okay.
It got more expensive. Illinois, you could have like a huge storage unit for nothing.
In San Diego, I bet it's pretty expensive.
It was expensive there, yeah. We cleared out before we moved west like all of our furniture, and I left to my buddy my 2 big Trinitrons.
Okay.
So I didn't have a ton of stuff left by then. But now, like, this is all that stuff.
Yeah.
Out and has room to breathe. I got a futon here the other day. For
nice.
Gotta
have the futon.
Need one more.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I still got my old school futon. I need a new mattress for it though, because it is not comfortable anymore. Of course, it's like 20-year-old futon mattress.
Yeah, I had a futon that I really loved and moved. And I'll tell you what, it's easy to get a futon nowadays. If you go on,
I bet it is.
OfferUp or Craigslist or whatever, there are a lot of futons, so you can get like a pretty nice one for pretty cheap. This guy I got this one from even delivered it here. Nice. I showed up and it wouldn't fit in my car.
I actually had here's an interesting TV that somebody wants to bring in July is a B&O.
Oh yeah, Bang & Olufsen.
Yeah, and this is one of this guy who's bringing it in actually worked for B&O in the United States when this TV was made in the early 2000s, I think, or late 90s, one or the other. And I think he said 5,000 of them were shipped over to be sold like in New York City, basically, and along the eastern areas in the Northeast. And he said, but they were plagued within the first year from, it was either bad solder or capacitors. and they immediately started failing within the first year. And he's like, I've got one of them, but it's huge. And he's like, I want to bring it in. And I was like, okay, because I've never seen that, right? I would love to do that one.
I've seen pictures of cool V&O TVs. Like, they look, they're like black, all black. And
yeah. And they got like a rotating, it's on a pedestal that you can use a remote and rotate it. And, and really high end, their stuff, but just not very prevalent in the United States. And so he's like, yeah, this was just one of the models they tried to bring in, and they just had a huge failure, disaster. And I think that's one of the reasons they never came back to the United States or didn't really move much in the market.
Yeah, I went to, when I live like an hour from Hollywood. So we'd gone to Rodeo Drive, famous like high-end shopping area. And there's a Bang & Olufsen has a storefront there for some reason.
Oh, nice.
But it's all like little consumer, gadgets like phone stuff, and like it's nothing at all like what I would think of that TVs and big stereos and things like that. So they aren't really like a shadow of what they used to be. I didn't even go in there. I just kind of looked in there. But I was like surprised because it's all brands you recognize, and then for some reason B&O is there.
So yeah, what? They're paying a lot for real estate.
Rodeo Drive is so fucking weird.
Is it?
And the people there are so fucking weird. Yeah, it's weird. It's just weird. So
you're in the San Diego area now? Is that right?
I'm an hour north now.
Okay.
We were at Mission Beach in San Diego, which is an awesome spot, but we didn't have any space there.
Right.
And about a year and a half ago, I moved out to a house about an hour north of San Diego, which puts me kind of an hour from everywhere with no traffic.
Okay. Oh, but
so if there's no traffic, if there's no traffic, I can get to like the Hollywood studios for tours in like an hour. If there is traffic, it can be 3 to 4 hours. So,
which is more often probably that there's some traffic.
Yeah, like Saturday and Sunday are the only days to go into LA.
Okay.
Because you can get in and out safely without hitting one of those. Well, unless something goes wrong, but weekdays. My wife has a commute every day to UCLA.
Okay.
Well, 3 days a week, and it's like
so she
3 hours there and like
no
3 to 4
way
hours back. Yeah.
For her. That's how long it takes?
Yeah.
Oh, that's terrible. I'm not.
And if you were going with no traffic, it's an hour.
That's
hour and 10 minutes.
I don't even want to see my wife. She works at the university I was telling you, James Madison University, and it's a mile and a half from our house. So so she has she could walk there just as fast as drive. But yeah, that was one of the good things. I was like, well, there's really no commute for you here, but
yeah, that's huge.
That's a commitment. That's a lot.
Yeah, it's a big deal for her to be there. That's why she does it.
Yeah,
it's a prestigious post,
That's cool.
And I mean, if she gets tenure, then we would probably move.
Right.
Sure.
Well, I've got my brother lives in Northern California, but pretty far north, near Santa Rosa. And then I do have a cousin, and him and his family live in San Diego, but I've never been out there to visit him. Last time I visited him, he was in Hawaii. He actually taught
like military.
No, he taught surfing. Crazy enough.
Okay.
And he got a couple gigs doing that, and when he was younger, and I say younger, he's younger than me, but when he was really younger, he was actually on a sponsored tour for a while to surf. And
yeah, I know that's a big thing. Yeah.
So it was, I mean, he never made enough of a presence or money to really, I guess, cause it's hard to say. That would have been even more kind of or smaller, smaller pool to survive in. I think the only guy that was like anybody knew back then was like Kelly Slater. I'd ever heard of. And I don't know if anybody like, that's like kind of a household name in surfing, but it was something where he got to do all this crazy stuff. And then, he was out in Hawaii for a while, and then that finally moved back to San Diego, I guess probably a decade ago.
That's cool.
Yeah. He loves it out there.
Yeah, San Diego's awesome. I was there all through lockdown. It was a good place to be, relatively, because...
Are you normally from there, or are you from somewhere else?
I'm from Central Illinois originally.
Okay.
And then, I spent like 6 of the last 12 years in Brazil.
Right. I thought you were in Brazil.
Before that, we were in Madison, Wisconsin for 5 years. So I've been all over the place. Yeah. But I moved back from Brazil to San Diego.
Okay.
And then from San Diego to where I am now.
So do you mind what took you to Brazil, if you don't mind me asking?
That's where my wife is from.
Okay.
And so she had a full scholarship to do her PhD. But the stipulation was however many years away you were, you had to do that back in Brazil.
Okay.
And actually, like 3 years into that, they their department was dissolved, and so everybody was like cut free from their obligations. So that's when we moved back because
all right,
she didn't have to do the full 5 years.
Okay, I gotcha.
And so then we were just like scrambling, and we're like, we could move anywhere in the U.S. Where would we move? And we just ended up like finding a cool apartment in San Diego, and it was gonna be like a temporary thing, but then COVID happened, and it, ended up being a few years.
Yeah, right. Well, good.
Mm-hmm. And you were in Nashville?
Well, I was in Nashville, yeah. Just outside of Nashville, like a suburban area. Mm-hmm. And this area I'm in now is actually the area I was born in, or this is where I was from. Mm-hmm. And we moved back here about, it's almost been 2 years ago. And I don't know, it's kind of a crazy thing because I just pretty much... We just kind of decided to just try to change it up a little bit and move back here. Mm-hmm. And so it's been interesting because sometimes you're like, gosh, should I have moved? And then sometimes it's like, yeah, I'm glad I moved.
Yeah, I get into that thought a lot too. And having a house where I had an apartment, which was a sweet deal. I didn't have to do anything. Everything was taken care of, Yeah. When things broke. And like we were right on the beach. But on the other hand, it was a clean Xbox, So it was like, it's hard. It's a toss up.
Yeah.
But every time something goes majorly wrong in the renting.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm torn right now because like I had a house for when I was in Nashville. We owned the house there for golly. I mean, we bought it and stayed there for like 14 years, right? And then sold it, and it sold for double what I paid for it because I had been there so long and it was coming out at a good market. But then now I've like looking at market where I'm at, there's no real estate for sale. So there's a shortage of inventory right now, and the prices are ridiculous. Like they're higher than ever. Here's a good example. The house right next door, this house I'm living in now, it's got 2 floors, but the basement is just half barely finished with legit 60s wood paneling. Like it's the real deal wood paneling, like everybody loves for retro. But it's the real old that you could literally poke your hand through if you hit it too hard. So the house right next door to this is about the same age, but it has been has been updated, but like it's smaller, and it sold in 2018 on record for $200,000, and they just listed it yesterday, and from 2018 to 2023 they listed it for 369,000, and they're expecting to get over asking on it for like 382. And I'm like, how is that crazy that a house doubles in 5 years? Pretty much.
Well, this bubble has got to pop.
I mean, I hope sometime it's got to pop.
It sounds like a bad time to buy.
Yeah, it is. Like
although if you sell, then you've got to buy.
That's what. Yeah. Yes, that's what I like. I'm renting now, and I just keep calling my banker, and I'm like, what the heck I'm like, what's going on down there at the bank? And he's so nervous that every time I call him, he keeps upping the like interest rate goes up, and he'll keep upping my like interest rate for my savings account. Like I called him today.
Oh, nice.
And I was like, what's going on with the savings accounts? And he's like, oh, I'll give you an extra 0.5 point. And I was like, okay. It's up to 5. Awesome. It's up to 5%.
They want you to keep your money there.
They got it up to 5% in just savings account right now.
That's crazy.
So I was like, yeah, but again, I'm in this weird situation. See, this house I'm in it's my granddad's old house. So that's a cool thing. Like he built it, and I grew up hanging out in here, and but by like I just don't really want to buy it because it's old, and I don't want to put a bunch of work into it. But it might be worth it. But then I got to buy it like from my family and stuff. So right now I kind of am happy just renting, but it is depressing to go and look at houses and be like, this is what you get for $400,000 now. And I mean, that's over here. I imagine it's double, if not triple that in.
Oh yeah. That's why we had to get a
San Diego.
Like impossible abs.
Yeah.
That's what drove us out into the
boonies. Yeah, I don't know.
Although it's nice here.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. We are losing your audio occasionally. It's like clipping out.
I just turned off the second ago.
Yeah,
somebody mentioned that. So maybe.
Yeah, it keeps going in and out. I don't know.
What the heck?
But it's okay. I'm pushing.
I have a tube microphone. Speaking of vacuum tubes, let me see. It's usually like Discord somewhere.
It's probably Discord's probably tired of us for 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
Well, like since that's going bad, I mean, I've got it's 11:30 for me here.
Oh shit, yeah.
Which isn't a problem. I'm actually really happy. I mean, this is fun. I've had a great time. Thank you for coming on with me, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Yeah, so we'll probably just cut it loose here. Thank you everybody for joining us. Definitely go check out Smoke Monster's channel and make sure that follow him on Twitter and see what we got going on. Let's see if there's I definitely would love to have you come back again. We can hang out again sometime.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So
this is a lot of fun. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. I really do. Thank you, everybody. Again, and we will see you all next time. And that's it.